If someone pulls you over for speeding, they think you're guilty of speeding, right? They don't presume that they had it wrong or it was an accident or something else. And while the Constitution certainly guarantees that you are innocent until proven guilty, anyone who's been criminally accused, who's been arrested, who's been charged, will likely believe the same as I do, that the perception is you're guilty until proven innocent. But that's why, if you're going and you were charged, you need a gunslinger.
In the military, you're guilty until proven innocent. We're all entitled to a fair trial. So before I even had the chance to go to trial, that stigma of that's Mr. Baker, he's a serial rapist, was already on me. So dealing with that itself was painful. If I hadn't taken the time and the money and made the investment of hiring Mr. Bilecki, I think I would be in prison.
Everything that I'd worked so hard for in my career was in an instant demolished. We went to Afghanistan, came back after a year tour. There was an accusation made against me, and the command took it and ran with it. When Command Sergeant Major came in, he pulled me in his office and said, "Look, I know you didn't do this. This is stupid, but it is what it is, and I don't have the authority to stop it. Everything I've done in 7 years, 2 wars, none of that mattered. All that mattered was they were fixated in on convicting me and putting me to jail."
How does a guy get charged with 3 sexual assault cases and come out innocent? Mr. Bilecki, from the start, he did everything that he could. He fought for me. We went to court. He did a great job at fighting my sexual assault case, which we easily won. There was no contest at all.
Our mission is to find those service members who are truly in need, either if you've been innocently accused, if you've been overcharged, or if no one else will help you. And those are the soldiers and the Marines and the service members that we truly want to help. Every other attorney's either turned down their case, told them to plead guilty, or said the odds are overwhelming. That's the case I want to take on. That's the case that I'm passionate about. I want the cases that no one else thinks that they can win, because when we do, it really shows that when everything was stacked against you, you can win. If someone accuses you and you are a service member of crime, especially sexual assault in today's military, your command, the prosecution, law enforcement, they're all going to think you're guilty until you can find a way to prove your innocence. Now, one of the things that we see is often in cases, they will bring 5, 6, 7, even 10 prosecutors to prosecute one case. They will have a literal army of investigators who are out investigating the case and trying to put that service member in jail. Now, that should never happen. These are men and women who put their life on the line and they fight for their country. But when they're charged, their country doesn't fight back for them. When I walk into court and I see the prosecution's got 5 or 6 people ready to prosecute the case and it's just myself, it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You can still bring 5 or 6 knives, but I've got the guns. I went to the Carroll School of Management at Boston College, and afterwards I moved down to Miami to get my law degree. And I thought I was going to be a corporate attorney working on Wall Street or working in Miami doing mergers and acquisitions. But my first year of law school, in the second semester, I took a clerkship position at the law firm of HIRSCHHORN and Bieber. I didn't even know what I was getting into. When Joel interviewed me, it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And it was intense. You have to have thick skin in this business, and he taught me that. He gave me the job, and I fell in love with criminal defense. It was truly a game changer.
Now, we had a rule in our office, and that is whenever we hired a law clerk, it's still the same rule today. If you get past HIRSCHHORN, after the first 2 weeks, you're on board for the ride. And so Bilecki got past me for the first 2 weeks. As a law student, he did not ask me any dumb questions, because you have no idea how many law students have not lasted past the first dumb question as a law clerk. Whatever assignments we gave Tim, he worked on diligently, and his work product was obviously excellent.
From that point on, I changed everything about what I wanted to do, and I wanted to focus on being a criminal defense attorney. And then I joined the JAG Corps because it would give me the opportunity to not only defend my country and serve our country, but then to be able to really defend people's lives in a unique way. It's changed my life. One of the first things I did when I joined the military is I almost begged and pleaded to be a defense attorney. It's very difficult to walk into the Army and the JAG Corps and have your first assignment as a defense attorney. It's very rare, it hardly ever happens, but they gave me that shot and we crushed it. I was with a great group of attorneys and we tried cases and we won.
Tim signed up for being a defense lawyer. He was a pretty young defense lawyer at the time, but he did volunteer to take on a lot of cases, and he was well known throughout the Pacific for taking cases to trial. I mean, these are cases that nobody else would want to take to trial. He became at first hated by a lot of people, because he was standing up for people that usually don't get a defense. And then he became feared by the people. I'm talking the command and the other lawyers. And even to this day, a lot of people don't like him, but they don't like him because he's a bad lawyer. A lot of the prosecutors in the command don't like him because they know when he's on the other side of the case, he's going to come in there and fight for justice and start kicking butt.
I loved my time in the military. Literally, they were some of the best years of my life. It allowed me to travel around the world, meet some amazing people. Some of the best friends that I have today are the ones I served with. And in addition to just being an amazing experience, it really taught me the system. There is no other way to learn the system than to go inside of the system. I learned how the military operates, and I learned how to fight back in a courtroom. When I resigned from the Army, I turned down a very large bonus. I turned down the assignment of my choice, and I flew back and opened up my practice in Hawaii, and I had 3 things. I had a cell phone, a laptop, and a dream.
The court-martial system is really a different world. In order to stand up to everyone in the courtroom, you have to have a certain type of personality. You have to have that thick skin. You have to have that internal resolve. You have to really not care about what everyone is thinking, what everyone is seeing, and have that focus and drive and really that laser precision in the courtroom to succeed.
Because of some of the political pressures in the military environment, often cases that in the civilian world may not actually be charged wind up being charged in the military context. And there's a number of influences that wind up with cases being investigated and charged that probably either never should be charged or never would be charged in a civilian context. And so you have real life people who are charged with crimes that never did anything wrong, but the way the system is played out for them has left them sitting in a courtroom on the opposite side of the United States trying to explain that they did nothing wrong.
I joined the military in 2006, went to basic training, went to Iraq. After Iraq, I went recruiting, did about 2.5 years there as a corporal recruiter, left there and was stationed in Hawaii. On staff, I actually worked directly for the commander and the first sergeant on a daily basis. About a week after I returned was when I got into the alleged trouble.
If there were any clients that I can think of, and I've had quite a few, of someone who should never have been charged, who should never have gone to trial in particular, it was this case. Here you had 2 individuals, both soldiers, who met at the beach. And after meeting at the beach, they decided to go get some drinks together and go hang out. And they hooked up. They were both male, and rumor spread very quickly.
I came to work that morning that I got arrested, and I knew something was up. The commander called me in after formation and said, "You need to stand by up here." 2 military police officers showed up. They put me in handcuffs upstairs inside my company office. They led me out of the building, through the parking lot and down into their SWAT car and drove me off. I didn't know everything that was going on, and the only thing they told me is that you're not being charged with anything, but you're a suspect in a sexual assault case. Normally in a case, they would normally have to prove that the charges are legit against me to go to court. When you're facing 7 allegations like I was that were completely false, and they found every charge in the book that was related to it and charged me with it. None of the evidence they collected suggested anything to lead with what they were charging me with. And I just remember talking to Tim on the phone, and he was like, I'm astonished that they're gonna move forward with this, but we're going to court, we're going to trial.
I think my client, to this day, was the victim of a sexual assault. And the soldier that accused my client was the perpetrator.
For this particular case, in my personal opinion, having investigated it, I believe that the accuser just did not want it to come out that he was homosexual.
Normally they would only have 1 or 2 prosecutors. They brought in 3 plus a lieutenant colonel that sat in the back and oversaw them. It was almost funny how ahead Tim was of the prosecution. It was a little nerve-wracking when the jury came back, handed their ballot over to the bailiff who took it to the judge. The judge looked at it and asked them to read their verdict. We, the jury, and then they paused, and then they said my full name very slowly and paused. Find the defendant, and then they paused, and I was like, just say it. And they said, not guilty of all charges. My sergeant major told me at one point after the trial, he said, you know, in 24 years of service, I've never seen somebody walk into a court-martial and walk out with their rank. Tim's so awesome when it comes to protecting me that I trust him with my life more than I trust half the people in the military.
I was born and raised in Florence, South Carolina, a little small rural area in South Carolina. My grandmother raised me for the most part of my life. My mother got killed when I was 5 and just met my dad for the first time when I was 20. At age 18, I joined the military to help her out, of course, financially, and then my 9 years in the Army. I was married to a woman, and 4 months after my marriage, on my birthday, she asked for a divorce, and I took it hard. After dealing with the depression for about 6 months with my wife and not knowing exactly why she wanted a divorce, until this day I really don't know. She was the love of my life. I fell into that dark place. So I turned to drinking, and one day I went on a drinking binge. And went out that night, started drinking some more, and met some people. Got invited to a girl's room. One thing led to another. We started getting into it. She said, stop, I'm a lesbian. I'm just trying to do this to get back at my girlfriend. Sorry for calling you over here. So I stopped, pulled up my pants, and walked out, and was accused of sexual assault in the military. It was a blob of confusion. I really didn't understand it. Why? Granted, I made some mistakes with the alcohol and, of course, mingling with women I shouldn't have been with, but the accusations were outrageous. Once I went through my first court-martial, and there was, in fact, another accuser, I believe it was 30 days before my first trial, who made accusations as well. At that point, I felt as if I was being set up. In the eyes of my peers and commanders, I was guilty. Even before we went to court, before the investigation was completed, I was guilty. It's like the first 8 years of my military career does not exist. All the good things that I did, and going to Iraq 2 and 3 times, being a hero to being a nobody. There were a lot of dirty things that the government tried to do to me, but Mr. Bilecki took care of me, and I thank God for him every day. He is a very significant person in my life. I look up to him because of the things that he did for me. A person who was falsely accused. The sexual assault charge never made it to court.
If you get convicted, even as an innocent man, you stand to spend about 75 years to life in prison if you get convicted of sexual assault. Forget your career, your life is pretty much on the line right now. And the whole time I was innocent, from them just telling me, it doesn't matter how innocent you are. What matters right now is how you look right now on paper, and you look terrible on paper. Once you get convicted of this, and that, well, that's it.
We're talking about young people just starting out in life who took an oath, swore to defend their country, even in the face of bullets that might be coming at them. In my opinion, we owe it to these people to give them justice.
Anyone who knows me well knows that one of the reasons I do this is for my family. I have a young son and I have an infant. I would do anything for those 2 boys. And I understand what it's like to be a father. I understand what it's like to have children. And when I represent someone and I talk to their father, or I talk to their mother, or I'm talking with them, I think to myself, what would it be like if, God forbid, my son was ever in a situation like that? What would I want to do? How would I want that attorney to act? Walking into a courtroom, it's like walking into an arena. It's like a bullfighter. Either you can be a bullfighter or you cannot be. You have to be absolutely fearless. You need to be able to walk into a courtroom and take on a lying witness, to be able to take on lying CID agents or ones that are being deceptive and know how to win. No one hires us to plead a case guilty. Some people call us courtroom gunslingers, and we take that as a compliment. I'll take any case to trial, even one that seems open and shut, because everyone deserves their day in court. We're always aware that we're the last line of defense, and we intend to make sure that that line is never breached. Our clients may be done fighting, but we will never be.